o'clock, so we were the first and only people there pretty much the whole meal.
Yeah.
And then he got the bill, and it was like $1,000 meal for 2 people.
Yeah.
He had like 2 glasses of wine. I just drank water.
Yeah.
Because I was too young to drink, but it was like a mind-blowing, life-changing meal.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Do you remember any courses specifically?
I remember an asparagus dish. It was like asparagus and hazelnut. And they had the big fat jumbo French asparagus.
That was back in the day too. So that the service and the fucking. Did they have a whole brigade team in front of the house?
My god! Yeah, it was insane. It was like I think it was like 1 person per diner.
Yeah,
it was nuts.
I love that.
And it was, since it was in a hotel, they were union. So like, if somebody dropped a fork on the floor, you know, the server couldn't pick up the fork. It had to be somebody from housekeeping. So they had that whole staff.
Oh wow!
So, yeah, it was.
That's
it was
a
like,
whole nother level.
Yeah, it was huge.
We don't touch floor.
Well,
just like that's funny.
Yeah.
So you have this mind-blowing experience, and you're going to the CIA. Do you have any chefs over there that are sort of mentored you, or that you still keep in contact with at the CIA?
No, not really.
Because I'm finding that to be a trend.
Oh, really?
Everybody that went to culinary school, including myself, like I don't know anybody from my culinary school.
Yeah.
And it kind of pisses me off because, I don't know, being a chef is like having mentors and people to guide you. And it's like the fact that I can't call any of my college professors and be like, hey, what's up? Like, there's something wrong with that.
Yeah.
You know? There needs to be a little, I don't know. You got to go back and look at that.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, for sure.
So what did you learn at the CIA? Because I know for me, I didn't learn much at Johnson & Wales.
I did not learn much at the CIA.
Yeah.
And I think that's only because I was so into food before I went. You know, like I would read the French Laundry Cookbook. And,
Got you, yeah.
And I would read on my own, and working at a fine dining restaurant where I already learned how to make stocks and sauces and you know, do the knife cuts and stuff.
Yeah.
So I was definitely like ahead of the curve when I went there. And then you go and you meet these people. I was so disappointed when I first took my first cooking class. I was like, yeah, this is the best. Like everybody's going to know who Thomas Keller is and El Bulli and Ferran Adria and all these people. And then you meet your like classmates, and they don't know how to make a stock or a sauce, and they're not like super into it. It's just like they like making scrambled eggs for their family on Sunday mornings, so they decided to go to culinary school. So it's kind of like, it took the wind out of the sails a little bit.
Got you. Did CIA weed the week? Because I know at Johnson & Wales it was like in 2 weeks, like 150 kids just dropped out.
No, really?
Yeah, it was like they couldn't take it. Either they detoxed and had to leave campus, or or they just like couldn't make it to. Because at Johnson & Wales, you miss 2 classes, you're done.
Really?
Like your class gets dropped. Yeah, exactly. So it was like that. A lot of that was happening, and kids were just like,
I think you could miss like 3 classes a semester or something.
Okay. Yeah.
But everybody stayed for the most part. My class was really small. It was like, I think I had 12 kids in my class, and then in our block was like 40 people.
Do you keep in contact with anybody from CIA, or do you know anybody that went on to do great things from
I know a couple guys. Yeah.
Got you. Yeah, that's very cool.
But not much. A lot of people stopped.
Yeah, you find that a lot too, and that's another thing. You're like, why did you even get into culinary school? You know, I feel like there should be some kind of metrics. Yeah. Not just like, give me your money for rent.
Sure. Yeah.
So you go to the CIA 2 years. Are you? What did you do for your internship?
Internship was at Trio.
Okay.
Up in Evanston when Grant was still there.
Okay. Very cool.
So it was like Alinea style food. It was when he was first starting to get into all the service pieces and and seeing him and Martin like develop different.
So he's a young cat at this point.
He was young. Yeah. I think he was like 29, 28 or something when I was there. So he was younger for sure.
What was it like to be surround that person?
Oh my God, it was mind blowing. It was so awesome. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, but it was so rewarding, and like, you know, going in and learning things and just like feeling myself get better and better as a cook was like, I wouldn't take it back for anything.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it was awesome.
How long was your internship there?
I think it was 6 months.
6 months.
7 months, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. And then did they offer you a position after that?
They didn't, just because I had to go back to school.
Gotcha. Okay.
So ours at the CIA is like right in the middle of your.
Oh, all right.
It's like, I know some like kind of put it at the end. Yeah, and then you could keep the job if you wanted or whatever, but it's like right in the middle, so you have to go back to school.
Gotcha. So you went back to school, and where'd you go after that?
After that, I went to Alinea.
Okay.
So
gotcha.
I went back to work for Grant.
Did you have to stage there, or did you already get the job because you worked with him at Trio?
As just like a formality, I flew out and staged just to make sure that I liked it, because they said it was very similar but also very different.
Mm-hmm.
Like cooking at Trio was in a hotel, but the kitchen wasn't great. It was like home stoves and stuff.
Yeah.
And then Alinea was like big boy time.
Got
sure.
you. So he finally got everything he ever wanted.
Yeah, pretty much. So I flew out and staged, and then flew back to the CIA or maybe California, and drove with my parents out. Got all my stuff in order. So
very cool. How long did you stay at Alinea?
I think it was there like 14 months or so. 14
months. Got you. Why so short?
I was just ready for something else.
Gotcha.
I'm normally not the kind of guy where I would hop around or anything. I mean, then after Alinea, I worked at Blackbird, and I was there for 10 years. So
same thing with Ryan. He just told me that.
Yeah.
Must have been a good culture over there.
It was
stayed
great
for 10 years.
Yeah.
What would you say the most important value was that you learned at Alinea?
It wasn't recipes or techniques or anything. It was just kind of like a mindset, and you could really, like, there's no boundaries. You could do anything, So I think it was that, like, not limiting yourself. Not.
Did you have any say in the menu? Any autonomy?
No.
Gotcha. It was all just Grant, and who else were the guys in charge?
Superstars when I was there.
Yeah.
It was Grant, and then Curtis Duffy, John Shields, Greg Backstrom, Dave Barron was there, Nick Pikus. I'm sure I'm forgetting some, but it was like
it's literally like the Rolling Stones going on tour, and you're like setting up the stage.
Dude, it was nuts. It was nuts.
Yeah. I tried to get Shields on here, but I think he was out of town.
Yeah, sure.
Oh man, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So you left there, you go to Blackbird. How'd you get that job?
So I was at a point with Alinea where I wanted to cook again, because there's not really much cooking going on. Especially, I worked at Pastry most of the time I was there. So I wanted to like cook meat and stuff. So I actually had to sit down with Grant, and I was like, I'm thinking about leaving. I would love to stay here, but I want to work across from you, which was the meat station. And they had other ideas for me, so I put my notice in, and then it was kind of like a crossroads of like, do I move back to California? Do I move to New York? Do I stay in Chicago? And in Chicago, I wanted to either work at Charlie Trotter's or work at Blackbird. And Blackbird, the reason was, like, I always envisioned myself ending up at WD-50 and working at WD-50 for some reason. And Mike Sharon, who was the old sous chef for CDC at WD-50, I don't know what his title was, but he just took over the kitchen at Blackbird. So I was like, okay, this is pretty sick. Like, I'll just go check it out. It was like a hyper-seasonal restaurant that utilized a lot of local farms. So I was like, this is like the best of every world, like modern techniques with farm, like, driven menu. So I staged there, and they would have offered me a job, but they didn't have any positions, so I got some stupid bullshit job as like a produce guy at Whole Foods. I'd work at Whole Foods, and then I'd go staged at Blackbird once or twice a week until they had a position open, and I think that was like 3 months of doing that.
Got you. Now, I've never been there, and they closed, sadly. Was it a tasting menu? Was it a la carte?
It was a la carte, and there was also a tasting menu.
Got you.
Yeah.
All right.
So
okay. And sort of, what were the first stations that you worked when you got there?
I started like super beginner station, which was lunch grill. I worked lunch for a year, and
so you actually got to cook your meat, though.
Yeah.
So you could like
It was like. The lunch menu it had a couple of things that were on the dinner menu, which was like a little more finessed and fine dining, but then there were still sandwiches and salads and soups and stuff.
Heard that.
And so I worked that for a year, and then I got moved up to dinner, and then I worked dinner service for 2.5 years, and I worked every station pretty much. And then I became sous chef for a year, and then chef de cuisine for 4 years.
Oh my God.
So, I was there for a while.
Yeah. When you became CDC, how did that come about? How did your name come in the hat? Was there others that were maybe going to take that position? Not
that I know of. I know Paul is very much about promoting within.
Yeah.
So as sous chef, they were, super, they let me be as hands-on as I wanted to be. So I put stuff on the menu with the help of Paul and Mike, of course. But I think at the time I had like 5 or 6 dishes on the menu that were mine, that Mike like tweaked or made like a little more his, so it was a continuous menu. And then Paul and I did an event in Louisville, Kentucky, and he asked if I wanted to be the CDC. So I don't know if they were considering other people.
Yeah. And you were just like,
I called my girlfriend at the time right away. I was like, you're never going to believe it. Yeah.
She's like, so I'll get to see you less?
Yeah, for real.
Oh, man. So how was that transition from Sue to CDC? Did you find yourself taking on more jobs, or was it almost the same?
It was the same.
Yeah.
Just more responsibility at the end of it. I think the crew already liked me because I was the sous chef. The hardest transition was from cook to sous chef.
Yeah, because you have to manage your peers.
Yeah, your buds. Now you're telling your buds to like clean the floors faster.
Yeah,
and they don't really take to that very well.
Fuck you.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where it's really hard, where everybody just like kind of quits at the same time because they don't like the shift.
Yep.
But then it's a good thing because you start from scratch.
Exactly.
You could implement your own systems and all that stuff.
Yeah, because the new guys that are coming in, they don't know the backstory.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
So did people literally quit? People were like, "Fuck this."
It took a while. I think it was like 6 months until the last person that I worked like side by side with quit, and there was a whole new staff.
Gotcha.
And I think it was less so when I took over as CDC. So I think people were kind of, from my side, my perspective, people were kind of like, oh, he was a sous chef and he did an okay job at that. Let's see what his food's like, and they hung around for a little bit.
Got you. Okay. Did you lose any friendships over the becoming a sous chef after a cook?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
All right. So it's just people that were just like kind of...
Yeah. Yeah.
Did those people go on to do other things in town that you were like, fuck yeah, like... Because from what I see when I went to Big Kids, it's just like you guys. There's a big alumni from Blackbird.
Yep.
And they're all super cool dudes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That are kind of doing their own thing. So that culture in there seemed to be very cool.
It was great.
You think it'll ever come back?
That culture?
Blackbird?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it's done.
Sad.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. I went to Rustic Canyon a month ago, and I was just thinking like. All the restaurants that you were too tired from work to go to on your day off, and they're now closed. It's like, what are you going to do? Like, you missed a moment.
Yeah.
So it's like, the answer is yes from now on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Forever. Yeah. So after your time at Blackbird, is that when you started thinking about this place?
Yeah. So Anna and I were lucky enough to get to travel quite a bit to Europe, and we kind of fell in love with the whole... the new bistro style of eating, to where it's like just a short, tasty menu that changes all the time, and we were like, why doesn't Chicago have something like that? So that kind of seed got planted in both of our heads for a little bit, and then Anna was the pastry chef at the Publican while I was the chef at Blackbird, and so we talk about opening up our own spot, and then I quit. I had no idea where I wanted to work, and so we have a lot of great restaurants in town, obviously, and I just didn't want to work for anybody anymore, so I wanted to work for myself. So after I put my notice in, I guess I was like, well, I guess it's time to start a restaurant.
Exactly.
So
how did that go? Did you just know about spaces? Did you go look at spaces? Did you have enough money invested?
It was pretty eye-opening, for sure. I quit, and I had a pretty good name behind myself at Blackbird, like James Beard nominations and all that stuff. So I thought when I would quit, people would reach out right away with like, here, let's open a restaurant together. And it was like crickets. Like nobody. It was like very humbling. Like I was like very surprised and disappointed. But then from there you go on and you're like, well, I guess I just have to figure out.
Do it yourself.
I got to start from step one and figure it out all the way. And
what was the first step that you took in the direction of this place?
Finding a realtor to help us look at spaces, and then finding a real estate lawyer were the first two things I did.
Heard that.
Yeah.
Got you.
So,
how long did the whole process take from beginning that to opening the first night? 2 years. 2 years.
Yeah.
Was there any time in that 2 years that you were like, this isn't going to work?
It was definitely, it was a little depressing at times.
Yeah.
The realtor we had was great, but they would take us to see these spots, and we had like a very clear-cut vision of what we wanted. We wanted like 3,000 square feet, like all in like Westtown or Bucktown. We didn't want to be on Randolph at all, or near West Loop at all, because there's too much going on here.
Yeah.
So they would show us these buildings, and they would show us a building that was like 20,000 square foot